I have been trying to track down people on my phone for about the last hour to find out who is getting the proceeds from my record being sold on iTunes. The company that was distributing it way back when it came out had went bankrupt about 6 months after we released it, and somebody is still collecting that money. So I've been spending all morning trying to contact them, and this guy forced himself up on my lap and then has been biting me the entire time that I've been doing it. And now the focus is on him. He's acting like he's innocent. You are not innocent, my friend. Not innocent at all. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. I pulled this shirt out today because it does have some significance. I've been having a really bad 24 hours. So I've been listening to Fleetwood Mac. And I think what I'm going to do today is we're going to explore a little bit of the history of this woman and this man. The Buckingham Nicks Band. Well, I guess in reality this is totally fitting. They have a gigantic bunch of bushes that cover up almost the entire place. So, unfortunately, it's not going to be as much fun as I thought it would be. This is, well, figure out the best way to walk around the property. This house on the corner is the first house that Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks moved into when they moved to Los Angeles together. And they had originally went to high school together. She was a senior and he was a junior. And they ended up singing together in a couple of like after school functions. Some say it was like a Beach Boys song, and then some say it was or Stevie says it was Mama's and Papa's California Dreamin' song. But yeah, this was the first house they moved here. They had sang together a little bit, and then Lindsey joined a band called Fritz in San Francisco. That's basically where they both were from, a place called Atherton, which was south of San Francisco. And he started playing in Fritz and invited her to join. They didn't really do any of their own music at that time, and it wasn't long before Stevie had been going to San Jose State that Lindsey started going as well. And basically they ended up, Lindsey kind of talked her into moving to Los Angeles. Like I said, you can't really see anything, but this was the first house they moved into. So they ended up playing with Fritz for a few years, opening for Jimi Hendrix and Jefferson Airplane, and then moved out here. And Stevie got a job waitressing at Bob's Big Boy and also cleaning houses. And Lindsey didn't work at all. They somehow agreed that the best idea for them would be for Lindsey to stay at home, hone his guitar craft, and work on songs while she worked. And she almost quit. She said she was just tired of being poor and just tired of just not having anything. And then they ended up forming a band together called Buckingham Nicks. And they got a record deal with Polydor. They did a little bit of a demo, shopped it around, and Polydor picked them up, but it just was never, the band never took off. It wasn't until they were out touring that album that they ended up meeting Mick Fleetwood, and that was kind of what ended up provoking Fleetwood Mac. Now what's crazy is that they're almost like the perfect couple to be in a band together, because he's all about the art, all about the music, by all means necessary, and she had a little bit more of a business mind. And I think in a way that always works best when you have opposites that attract. And when they lived here and they were in Buckingham Nicks, they were actually a couple at that point. Like I said, he was 1 year younger than her. But I was watching a documentary. Well, my introduction to kind of their relationship was I used to have a job I've told you guys about before where I went to a mastering company. And one day I showed up for the mastering session for our company, and Lindsey Buckingham was smoking a joint in the downstairs parking garage. And he looked real mad. He was like pacing around and like saw me, looked over, and then just like whipped his head around like in a huff. And I went upstairs and I remember talking to the guy that I worked with, and I was like, hey, why is Lindsey Buckingham downstairs? And he goes, oh, the band is putting out a new album and they're not getting along. And I said, really? What happened? He said, well, it was supposed to originally be a double album, which is what Lindsey wanted, and the label has talked them down to a single disc, which Lindsey's not specifically in favor of, but he agreed to do it. And what he really wanted was, he has a song that he has planned the entire time to be the very first song of the album, and now they want a different song because they think having such a long time away that it should be her voice that everybody hears first. And he blew up about it. Now, they made a documentary about the making of this album, and what's really interesting, if you watch that documentary, you really get to see a lot about their personality, because in there, it started out as a Lindsey Buckingham solo project, and then he invited Mick Fleetwood and John McVie to do a few songs on it. And then as they started working on things and they realized they really had something, Mick kind of said, well, maybe we should do a Fleetwood Mac album. And that's pretty much how it started. So as the whole thing took form, and eventually Lindsey would call Stevie, Stevie had been working on songs. She sent them the songs she was working on and gave them some time to start putting them together. And so when they started recording all this stuff, like I said, it came down to Lindsey wanting a double album, and the rest of the band kind of agreeing with the record label, hey, we've been away a long time. Maybe the best idea is not to hit people with a double album right away. So what it was they show like a conversation that Lindsey Buckingham and Mick Fleetwood have together, and it's basically Lindsey saying, look, don't you want to make the best piece of art possible? Like, who cares if it's a double album? Who cares if we don't sell millions of records? If it's the best thing we've ever done, isn't that worth it? And Mick says, you know, I don't want to fail. Whatever that entails, whatever that consists of, whether it's if we don't sell a certain amount of records, or we don't make a certain amount of money, or we don't sell enough tour tickets, whatever it is, I don't want to fail. And he felt that if they did a double album, it just wasn't going to go. And since it had originally started out as a Lindsey Buckingham solo record, Lindsey just flat out says, you know, if it's not going to be something I'm proud of, and it's not something I'm going to be happy with since I own the masters, maybe I should just take my songs back and turn it into a solo record. And then they show Stevie, and Stevie actually says, look, we're not a young band. She says, I know how Lindsey views it, and I know that he wants to make the best artistic representation possible. She said, look, our fans are in their mid-50s. They're not sitting at home on their floor, their living room, rolling joints, waiting for our record to come out, waiting to buy a double album. You know, our fans, the people that grew up with us, have delinquent kids, they have problems, they have mortgages. We're not the top priority. We have to gear our music and what we're selling to the age group of 12 to 27. You know, that's just the reality of it. And to an extent, I think that's really what made the band so famous, was that as long as you had those differing beliefs in how it should be run, and they could find a way to compromise, it would always be successful. And they did make some of the best music of all time. I don't think anybody can ever debate how classic Landslide and Big Love and everything is. But when you see Lindsey's entire body of work, it's kind of surprising to think that somebody like him would even, you know, years later want a band, because he had success with Holiday Road and his own solo projects, and really created an entire guitar sound in rock and roll that really hadn't been heard. He never used a pick. Maybe for some recordings he did, but for the most part he did a finger picking style that he developed from Merle Travis. And that's basically why he was so different than everybody else and why the music was so different than everybody else. But this was it. I mean, I hate the fact that I can't show you anything, and the people who live there actually are inside. I can see stuff moving around, but I don't want to bother them. And I just, I had planned on doing this, and just everything that's going on in my life, it's no surprise that we couldn't see more. But over here on 751 North Orange Grove by Fairfax High School, this was the first home in Los Angeles of Buckingham Nicks, and it almost could have been the end of Buckingham Nicks if they wouldn't have gotten some success out of it. Like I said, Stevie was the only one working, cleaning houses and waiting tables at Bob's Big Boy, and eventually one of the most iconic bands of all time would come out of this house. And there's another angle of it. Like I said, guys, I'm sorry that I can't see anything. I was really looking forward to coming and doing this little thing on Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, and I feel like it's kind of a letdown now. Alright, I gotta buy some juicing stuff now. Let's go do this. Alright, I got lemons, green apples, celery, kale, cucumber under there, some tuna, and I need to grab something for Jaw. Alright, I just got back from the grocery store, and then I swung by the dollar store, which was a nightmare. But I did get a 99-cent sewing kit, and it happens to have the colors that I need to sew on the Frank Zappa patch onto my jean jacket, which will at least put a smile on my face. I just wanted to thank everybody who has reached out and gave me some support through this whole photographer issue. I have never been one to roll over and just admit defeat. And when somebody steals from me, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put up with it. Especially when we got along so well during the session, and now she's just lazy and isn't going to finish the job, or for whatever reason just decided she's not going to finish it. I went full bore on this one. This has brought out the worst in me because like I've told you guys before, I don't have a lot of money. So for me to invest in the new photos, I do that about once a year. And even once I get those photos, the service that you put them online as an actor, they charge $25 and $35 per photo to list it on your page. So I was already going to have to pay another $100 on top of that just to get it online. And for her to steal, my photos, steal my money, I'm just not going to put up with it. So I have been posting as much proof and evidence online and all social media, anything that I possibly can. Some people have already written me and said that they've been texting her because I put her phone number. I put one of the messages where she put her address and her phone number in there. Yeah, that's the byproduct of screwing people over, is that when there's somebody like me who has, even though it may be small, has somewhat of a social media following, I am going to let people know what you do, and I am going to let them know how awful and dishonest you are. So I'm not letting up. I appreciate all the people that have forwarded photographers to me. Unfortunately, the reality is almost all photographers in Los Angeles want cash. And that's a problem now because I've been screwed over, so I'm very weary about doing cash. And almost all of them are minimum $200, if not more. And I don't have that, plus the extra $100 to put it online. So to get new photos, it's basically going to cost me like $400 now. And I just don't have that. So I've been very depressed. I'm really sorry that I have always had a bad habit of wearing my heart on my sleeve and not being able to fake emotion. So I do realize I haven't been smiling that much today, but I just can't force it, and I'm just not happy, and I'm really upset about this. So that's what's going on. Even going out to the Fleetwood Mac house, I thought for sure, the Buckingham Nicks house, I thought for sure that'd cheer me up, and then I got there and it was like, cool, I get to stare at topiary, It has to get better. It has to get better. No 2 days can stay this bad. Also, please, if you are a fan of my music and you've been listening to it on Spotify, please do not buy it on iTunes. Please do not buy it on iTunes. I do not get that money. I don't know who gets that money. I went back and I have tracked down the person who we made our agreement with. And that guy has told me that the person who was running our division shortly, right around when our album came out, that the owner, the guy who I talked to, had given him the company. And I did hear that that was possibly going to happen, so I believe it. That company went bankrupt, and now a third party that nobody seems to know is collecting my money off of iTunes. I've called BMI, the people who publish my music, 3 times and left messages, and I can't get a call back. I'm trying to track it down, trying to find out who has my rights, who's collecting my royalties, what's going on. But please, if you want to support me, I mean, honestly, I would rather put the music in a Dropbox and email it to you for free than to know that somebody else is making that money. So please do not buy it off iTunes. Please don't. If you want to support me, please buy the CD off of me or off of the eBay site that I put up. I put both the record and CD together. But please don't support people that are taking my money. That's been the story of my life as an artist. Almost every single thing that I've ever created, somebody has stolen from me or found a way to take it away from me. This YouTube is really all I have left. It's the only thing that somebody so far hasn't been able to take away. And it really bums me out knowing that people are listening to my music and that they think they're helping me by buying it on iTunes and they didn't know. And it's my fault. I should have told you not to buy it on iTunes, but I'm asking you, please, if you want my music and you can't afford to buy it, just send me a message. I'll upload it to a Dropbox and I'll just give it to you for free. I just, it's just one of those things. It really like breaks my heart to know that I constantly keep getting ripped off for my artistic endeavors. Ja, I was just sitting here and I was thinking to myself, I wonder if Ja wants to go outside and go for a walk. Can you give me some indication that you want to go? Some indication? Any indication? You don't want to go? You do? You do? Okay, let's go outside. It's that time again. Got a lot out of this stuff today. That's the second. I've already filled up the container I always use. Now I've got like a little bit more. Not bad. All right, friends. Thanks for watching me today. I'm sorry I was such a bummer, but hopefully it won't keep going on like this. The good news is that I know for sure I have to work for the next 3 days, which is good for me and making money, but not good for you. But the good thing that I do know is that they did tell me that tomorrow is not going to be a full day for me. And I know on, when would it be, Thursday when I'm working? I don't think I have to work till like 4 or 5, and then I work till midnight. So I will have time to vlog then. I'll have time to vlog tomorrow, and hopefully Wednesday. If not Wednesday, well, I'll figure something out. Anyway, thanks for sticking by me, guys. For those of you who have been texting the awful person that stole my money and just telling them to give me a refund or give me my photos and stuff, I really appreciate it. I didn't intend for you guys to deliberately do that, but I do appreciate that you did it. Really, all I wanted to do was make anybody who was an actor looking for headshots aware to completely stay away from her so this doesn't happen again. But thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the Buckingham Nicks house. It's kind of funny that the band was called Buckingham Nicks, and the house is kind of known online as the Buckingham Nicks house because she paid for everything. Shouldn't it be the Nicks Buckingham house? I don't know. You will not find a bigger Lindsey Buckingham supporter more than me. As many flaws as the guy does have, he has so many valid points. And one of my favorite things that he says, and I wish I would have said it when I was doing the video, was he tells Mick Fleetwood, he said, look, for every Martin Scorsese or Francis Ford Coppola out there, there's a guy in Van Nuys or somewhere living in a 2-bedroom apartment making the most brilliant movie that we're going to see next that Martin Scorsese or Francis Ford Coppola can't make because they don't know how to make that kind of movie. And I think that's something worth going into. I've always looked at that everything in my life. My favorite band in the world is called Guided by Voices. Guided by Voices made most of their recordings and all of my favorite recordings literally on 4-track home recorders or boom boxes. I've always loved imperfections, and I've always found the beautiful art in imperfections. So if you ever wonder why I have weird cuts sometimes in my videos, or why I end abruptly, or why I do things the way I do, that's always just been the kind of art that I love. I love this kind of chaotic medium of art, and thanks for watching it with me. Thanks for never complaining about how I do things, or, you know, very rarely do I ever get a complaint, and usually it's like, hey, go do this, and then I say, sorry, I didn't watch that show, or I'm not a fan of that band, and they get upset that they feel like I'm being rude to them. But I know that the people that watch me every day know I'm living life. You're watching the things that I want to see in life. And sometimes I would do honor requests if people want me to go somewhere, but it's always because it's a place that I want to check out anyway. It will always come back to me showing you guys the things that interest me. And I appreciate you guys coming every day and watching and seeing what interests me about life. So today was Buckingham Nicks. Tomorrow's going to be even more exciting because this is a place I recently found the address. I recently found a photo matching up the address, and I actually drove by it today just to see so my heart wouldn't be broken. And it's worth vlogging. So come back and see me tomorrow, guys. I love you very much. From Jordan the Lion and your old pal down on the floor, Joster, we're saying from Hollywood, California, have a great night.